I have two times to make a first impression. The first time is how you dress and how you look overall, and yeah, just your dress, your style, etc. And the second time is what comes out of your mouth. And so always dress for success, man. That's one of the rules of becoming like wealthy. Always dress for success because you never know who you're gonna meet.
Yeah.
So that's a big one. And the better you dress, the worse you can behave. So even with women, like if you dress like super sharply, etc., even if your game kind of sucks a bit, she will give you the benefit of the doubt. Geography is the biggest life hack, as Tai Lopez says. Like, you change your geography, you change your life. And actually, genes play a large role in success. There's been a lot of studies that have found that 80% of your success comes from your genes as well, because like the traits that makes a person successful, like intelligence, conscientiousness, extraversion, curiosity, all of that, a lot of them have genetic factors as well. Be friends with the eminent dead. Be friends with guys who are dead, because these are the guys who are going to teach you the most, like the people who died and that you can learn from. We're back.
We got some technical issues.
We're back. Yeah, we're back.
So, the last question was if you can share a particular learning moment that had a huge impact in your life.
Yeah, the first one was my first discovery of the dating and seduction space, like, because at first I thought, okay, if you're not super attractive, if you don't have a lot of money, if you're not like super extroverted and initially good with women, like you can't really become this playboy guy and like become super good with women. But then I started learning about seduction and the game and stuff like that, and RSD and stuff. That was a mind fuck, because I learned so many things that I've never heard about before, and that totally changed the game for me with women. So that was like my first big epiphany. Also, the second thing is Sam Ovens Consulting Accelerator. This is, Sam Ovens? Man, this program has changed my life. Like Sam Ovens Consulting Accelerator. I should have an affiliate link. I'm promoting his stuff now. But
does he still have it?
No, he stopped doing it because he focused mainly on school now, which is his SaaS.
But I remember I'm not sure he sold it. I think
he sold consulting.com.
It was a long time ago.
He sold it to a guy called I think Ryan. There's something, a guy who's into biohacking or something. And but I don't think the company is doing as well as when he was there. I don't think so. But that program changed my life as well. That's when I started with the coaching as well, the coaching company, back in 2018-19. I have two times to make a first impression. The first time is how you dress and how you look overall, and yeah, just your dress, your style, etc. And the second time is what comes out of your mouth. And so always dress for success, man. That's one of the rules of becoming like wealthy. Always dress for success, because you never know who you're gonna meet.
Yeah.
So that's a big one. And the better you dress, the worse you can behave. So even with women, like if you dress like super sharply, etc., even if your game kind of sucks a bit, she will give you the benefit of the doubt because you look super sharp, you look like $1,000,000. However, if you dress like shit, then she's not gonna give you a chance if your game sucks. So the better you dress, the worse you can behave with women. You can get away with some stuff.
But something that you said, for example, with the you never know who you're gonna meet. That's something I replace. Like, for me, the thing that I saw that gives me the most success or helps me a lot with everything, it's or the gift that I think the universe gave me is to always be myself in a good frequency and energy, and that will naturally attract people. Yeah. And because of that, I always try to be humble and nice to everyone, because you never know who you're gonna meet. Also, and it happens to me a lot of times that I got my ass saved because someone that I meet who I had no idea who they were or their families, and they're being so way too important.
That's a good point too, man. You have guys who might wear an AP or might wear some expensive clothes. They have nothing. Just show off with that, but they have nothing. And you have a guy who looks like a janitor. He's a billionaire. So you have to also be careful about appearances for sure, because you could get one of those in Thailand for $500, and you could look like $1,000,000, but you can have another guy that you meet that doesn't have anything on his wrist and who's a multimillionaire. So always be kind to people. Have a good energy. You never know, because you can't tell in the street who's a billionaire, who's not. I mean, you can tell a little bit from the dress, but usually wealthy people are quiet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Most of the people I know, they have like a shit ton of money. It's like the ones who dresses the most humble. Like,
Yeah, man.
you cannot tell they have money. Like, the amount of times, the wealthiest people I ever met in my life always were people that I didn't know who they were or their families. And then over time, I was like, fuck, so you're from this family? And like, yep. I was like,
Yeah.
I had no idea. They were like, I was not gonna tell you anyways.
Yeah, man. Poor is loud. Wealth whispers. Like,
Yeah.
wealth, you don't. Yeah.
It's like those things that if you know, you know. That's it.
Yeah. That's why there's a trend also in quiet luxury now. Now quiet luxury brands are booming because people realize that okay, it's not about the logos, it's not about the brand names, like all these rappers and stuff that put crazy logos, they try to show off, etc. It's not about that. They know now that okay, yeah, real billionaires they dress quietly, but the things they do, like even a T-shirt, is like $500. So that's why the quiet luxury brands now are booming too, because people start to realize that. Talk
What's the
about
book that, for both of you, that changed your life the most? For me, I think it was one called Reality Transurfing,
okay, yeah.
which is related to, for example, at one point you were talking about you focusing on getting to 500K per month, 1 million. And you said for some people that may be a lot.
Mm.
And I told you it depends on what reality they're
Yeah, on
transurfing right now.
the paradigm they're on, yeah.
Exactly. Because for me, for example, you say like 500K per month, like, we just fish.
500K a month?
Compared that, man, I met a lot of people. I'm the richest people, or the richest person I ever met in my life. He was making almost 3 mil a day.
Wow. Yeah.
So when someone says like, oh, 500K, I'm like, yeah.
Yeah, there's levels, man.
There's levels. Every time you think you're big,
But you know, it's not how much you make, it's how much you can spend and your buying power. Because look, you could be in Manhattan, Upper East Side, Billionaires Row in New York, and you could be spending like 50,000 a month for rent, but you're miserable because you're living in a building where people have so much more than you have so many expenses. You know, it's the life there is very you know, it's a very like chaotic life in the city of New York, like it's very stressful. Whereas you could live in Thailand for 3K a month and you're a king with a chauffeur, a maid, a villa, massages every day and stuff. Whereas in New York, like you would live, yeah, you would live in some high-end building, like luxury building, etc. But you wouldn't be as happy as just in Thailand, free with maids and stuff like that. So it's how much you can,
I think it
your
was
buying power.
Ty Lopez who mentioned that if
Yeah,
you
Ty
would
Lopez.
trade lives with people or not.
Correct. Yeah.
And always keep in mind the 4 pillars. I think it was like love, wealth,
Health, wealth, love, relationships, happiness. Yeah. I mean, yeah, health, relationships, money, like wealth and happiness.
Yeah.
Yeah, the good life. Yeah, it's better. I mean, would you try? Okay, let me ask you this. Okay, would you prefer that for the rest of your life we pay you 80 grand a month, like a million a year, for the rest of your life, and you can do whatever you want with it? Like you're paid a million a year automatically. You can do whatever you want, spend your time however you want, spend your days how you want. Or I wire you a billion now, but you have to work every day 9 to 5 for the next 20 years, and you don't have as much freedom. Like you have to stay at the office 9 to 5, but you have a billion. After the 9 to 5, you can spend, you can go party.
Personally, I choose the first one because I know my capacities. Like I know I can get further in 20 years than just a billion. But it depends on the goals that you have, the capacity that you have, if you trust yourself in the process or not.
Yeah, also.
And ideas, the goals that you're gonna have for the next 20 years. Also, but for me, for example, the main goal is to have the most freedom as I can.
So you value more freedom than
For me,
money.
that's the most important thing. So for me, for example, let's say 1 million a year. I have all the free time in the world for 20 years. And for me, that's way much more valuable than 1 billion.
Yeah, comes back to the pillars of the good life too, like being the master of your own time and balancing every aspect. Yeah. Geography is the biggest life hack, as Ty Lopez says. Like, if you change your geography, you change your life. And yeah, just you have to optimize your lifestyle based on your geography at the moment. I mean, if you're starting out, it's better to go into a cheaper place and in the beginning.
Like Brazil.
Tallinn is a great place.
Thailand.
Eastern Europe is a great place to start also, because it's
Latvia, Lithuania,
less expensive. Yeah.
Croatia, Montenegro, Argentina, Colombia.
Yeah.
Those are great places to go. But I think it always depends on who you move with.
Yeah.
Like relative, for example, to the thing I told you about freedom. For me, like even creating content for me is super hard because I don't like being in the public face.
Mm.
And one of my best friends, for example, he's totally opposite. And I always say, we need to get to that point where you, for example, are a huge influence, you have access to a lot of things, and I have the same thing, but closed door with governments and high level people. And it's the same thing. I think it depends with who you move in each country. One of my goals is always like have in every single country connections enough that if I go, I cannot go to jail. It doesn't matter what happens, I'm always saved.
Were you a fan of Andrew Tate? Did you like Andrew Tate?
And that I agree with a lot of things that he says, and some of them not. But yeah, I met him in 2021, I think it was.
You met him too? In
2021.
which city you met him?
Dubai.
Really? Okay, because I met him in Bucharest.
Bucharest?
Yeah, because he's living in Bucharest. And I was in Bucharest from September to December 2020. He wasn't as big at the time. I knew of him because I was in the red pill space on Twitter. I was very active. I still have a page. I have a page on Twitter called @PlayboySecrets. I have like 88K followers. And I was still posting at the time there on that page. And he was reposting me. He reposted me 2 times on Twitter. I still have the screenshot. Like Andrew Tate reposted your post, whatever. But he wasn't as big. He had like 40K something. And I met him and Tristan in Cayo. But it's not like I met him officially. Like he was already there.
Same.
And
I met him
saw
like
him
it
and
wasn't
I
the
shook
same
his
party.
hand.
And
Yeah, very random. But they always go to Cayo Club when they used to go out. They went to Cayo Club in Bucharest. Bucharest is a great city, actually. I would consider moving there. But it's a bit less developed than Estonia, so it's a bit dirtier, a bit like, I don't know. I prefer Estonia in terms of the cleanliness, and everything is digital and stuff. But you reminded me of Andrew Tate when you said, like, have different passports, have different residences, like, become like...
That's something that they always teach me since I was a kid. It's the best way for you to have freedom. Like, I have, for example, I'm not gonna name it, but one of my friends, since he was born, his father always made sure that he had like 6 different passports.
Wow.
And then when he was growing up, he was getting more and more and more. Because the more you have, like, the ideal point for you is to have at least, I would say, 7 different passports, 7 different locations that it doesn't matter. Like, for example, if you fucked up in Estonia or Estonia goes to war and you have to leave, you can go somewhere else, completely different passport. You have already like a set up a small house or decent house in a good neighborhood with a decent car. They can start from zero and you can still meet very good connections and start from zero again, you know? For me, that's always like the backup plan, but I need to 12 different places for that.
Actually, genes play a large role in success. There's been a lot of studies that have found that, 80% of your success comes from your genes as well, because like the traits that makes a person successful, like intelligence, conscientiousness, extraversion, curiosity, all of that, a lot of them have genetic factors as well.
So 2016, you're 26 now. 2016, you started by...
I started almost 10 years ago with the first
I
e-commerce.
was gonna say, me too, same thing. I was
But
15.
you were like, wow. Yeah. Yeah, you're a beast, man.
15, first dropshipping store, dropshipping backpacks. That was a good old times.
Yeah.
But the bad thing about that, I don't know if it happens to you, is that when you start young and you start making a shit ton of money when you're young, the first thing is like you put your self-value related to the amount of money that you have. And second, you don't value money. Because it's all so out of the reality or the norm that you stop valuing money or giving it value. So you completely lose sense of reality.
Yeah.
And the first time I lost everything, I completely crashed because my value wasn't the money that I had. Now, for me, like, okay, I did this, now I cannot do it anymore because it's not working. What the fuck do I do now? Like my whole value, self-value as a person was attached to the amount of money that I had at that time. I completely grounded. Yeah. But again, that's the things that makes you...
It forges you.
Yeah, it forces you to builds a character. Even nowadays, for example, when I meet a lot of people that like they're young people, they make money, let's say, with crypto or NFTs. like I can tell, like instantly you can tell about they're that kind of people because they don't have that character build. They don't have the like
The mental
even
fortitude. Yeah.
yeah, even for example, I can tell most of the times who these kind of people are, for example, because with time as an entrepreneur, if you have been for enough time, you ended up developing social skills.
Yeah.
You know how to talk to people, you learn how to socialize, how to move in certain circles. And I can tell the difference of who is like a new digital entrepreneur based on the fact that most of the times they have money, but they have no idea about like how to
Yeah.
socialize, how to do those things.
Yeah, man. A lot of crypto guys become my clients too because that's one of the problems. They make like a few hundreds of thousands or even millions, and then they've lost all their social skills or they never worked on them. So it's a big problem too.
Mm.
Yeah.
But that's one of the great things that you can do. Like if you make money, invest in yourself. Social skills, physical appearance, physical health, mental health.
Yeah.
That's one of the best things you can do. So
Yeah,
go for
I
that.
had a discussion with a guy at the gym actually earlier, and he said a lot of Estonians like they're a bit tight-fisted, like they don't want to invest in themselves because they feel like they can do everything on their own.
I don't
Um,
know. One of the guys that I have in the CRM, he's literally like he's making right now 3 million a year. One of the ways that he could scale was like I'm, for example, coming from the e-commerce. I had like I was obsessed with creating systems, optimizing everything. I remember telling him like you can scale way too more, like way much more doing X, Y, Z. He was like, no, I can do everything by myself. I'm like, yeah, but it makes more sense for you to delegate things, create systems in place so you can have more freedom of time, you can have more ideas, you can scale the business more. No. I can do everything. I can do it, which is hard for someone, especially if they are old. If they build everything themselves and they've been doing themselves for a long time, it's hard for them to go out of the norm and
yeah,
hard to change certain things because they have all of that attached to themselves, like
yeah, it's
mentally.
actually a cognitive bias. It's called like the sunk cost fallacy. It's the sunk cost fallacy. It's like people who always believed that to be successful you need to go to school, get a degree, etc. Even though they have the proof that you can succeed without a degree and without the traditional path, they will still die to defend that idea because they don't want to look bad. They've invested so much time and energy into that belief
Yeah,
that they don't want to go into another
exactly.
belief. It's the same thing as your guy. Your guy had a way of doing things, like the old way of doing things, and he's invested all his life doing something a certain way. That even if you show him a better thing, a better alternative, if it's a new way that he's not like that he doesn't believe in, he will still
Yeah.
die and defend his idea because it's just a cognitive bias. Like we like
It's like
to
when someone is a working path, they don't like it, and they can change it, but they don't want because maybe they invested like 6 years of studying, they have been there 10 years working, but they don't want to change to a
exactly.
different career.
Yeah, it's opportunity cost. It's sunk cost fallacies.
Sunk
That's
cost
what it is.
fallacies. Yeah, no, that name. Sunk cost fallacies. Interesting.
Yeah, I love cognitive biases, man. This is one of the most important thing you can learn in life, like the 25 cognitive biases by Charlie Munger. Charlie Munger is
The
the
father of psychology.
one of the no, not the father of psychology. You made it up right now.
Yes.
He's not the father of psychology. He's the business partner of Warren Buffett in Berkshire Hathaway, and he died this year actually at 96.
did he?
He died this year. Alex Hormozzi
Dang.
made a whole post about him, like R.I.P. Charlie Munger, etc. Because Charlie Munger has been actually one of the biggest influence in terms of the psychology in the psychology field in the past 20 years. Because the way he thinks about psychology is so unique that he was able to just surpass like all the great thinkers when it comes to investing, etc., in the market because he's so good at psychology and predicting people's behaviors. That's why Berkshire Hathaway is so wealthy with Warren Buffett because Warren Buffett without Charlie Munger, he would have a fraction of what he has now. But the way he partnered with Charlie Munger, that's what made him like a true billionaire. And Charlie Munger, he has a book called Poor Charlie's Almanac, and this book costs like $300 on Amazon. Like you can't buy it without $300. Like you have to buy $300 to get the book, and he tells you like a lot of things that are super powerful. But he made like a whole manifesto. It's on YouTube actually. It's free on YouTube. It's called The Psychology of Misjudgment by Charlie Munger. There's 25 cognitive biases. If you learn them, you will change your life. Like, honestly, it's crazy. There's so many cognitive biases, and you can influence people and persuade people based on these biases. There's so many things you can learn to really influence people. Another book is Influence by Robert Cialdini. This book is one of the best books. So if you combine Influence by Robert Cialdini plus the 25 cognitive biases by Charlie Munger, like, you'll be ahead of like 99.99999% of the population in terms of persuasion. You can influence anyone.
I remember when I was a kid, they made me read the How to Make Friends and Influence People.
Yeah, Dale Carnegie.
That one and the what was it called 48 Laws of Power.
Robert
Those
Greene.
two are
Yeah.
very powerful as well.
Yeah, those two are great. Dale Carnegie, it's a bit generic, to be honest, but the principles are evergreen. And it's a very important book for people to read. But the 25 cognitive biases are deeper, I think.
Mm-hmm.
So read that, man. I think you're gonna like it if you haven't read it. It's a great thing. Because he said, this is one of the first things he says in the book. For the man with a hammer, okay, every problem looks like a nail that you put.
Yeah.
So if you think a certain way, every problem is going to look to you a certain way. But if you expand your mind with different sides of your psychology, you can look at every problem with like a 4D view instead of like a 1D or 2D dimension view. You have like a 4D, like you play real lifetime chess, like in real life, because you understand, like, you have so many dimensions of like problem solving. So
that's interesting. You mentioned that
yeah.
Because the other day when I was talking with one of my friends, we were talking about the office thing and the co-op. I was telling him, like, one of the things that we can do is, like, let's say if we have you as an info product business owner, and then we have someone who works in the restaurant.
Yeah.
We're talking about the problems that we have in that week, that we're facing, the challenges, and maybe it has nothing to do, but the way that someone in the restaurant business is solving a problem maybe applies, or you try to use it in your niche.
Exactly. Yeah.
Which you will never have like thought about that in the first place.
Absolutely.
But
yeah, I think it's good to know a little bit about different fields. You know a little bit. You know a little bit about physics. You know a little bit about biology. You know a little bit about this specific field, and a combination of all these fields makes you see problems in a way that's totally different. Because if you understand certain concepts in certain fields, like, you will think about problems a lot more differently than if you only know one field. Like, you're only good at literature, and then you try to solve like a business problem. Like, you gotta learn about biology, how music works, even like sound waves and stuff. Like, if you learn like a few things about a few topics, like, you'll think about everything differently. And this is one of the advice of Charlie Munger that he said, like, is the theory of, I forgot. The theory of like field associations or something. Like, I don't know. But when you know a little bit about specific fields, it makes you a genius overall, because you understand how to solve problems with different aspects. So yeah. Man, Charlie Munger you have to read that guy. I try to study that guy as much as possible. He died now, but he said from the book as well. In his book, The Poor Charlie's Almanac, he said, be friends with the eminent dead. Be friends with guys who are dead, because these are the guys who are going to teach you the most, like the people who died and that you can learn from. So don't try to learn from this shiny YouTuber who only has like $1 million in his bank account. Learn from Napoleon Bonaparte. Learn from Isaac Newton, who died already.
One of my favorite, it's not even a book, but like the Meditations from Marcus Aurelius.
Yeah.
Greatest like emperor of all time. Yeah. And literally his reflections are all there. Like, that's insane.
Yeah, man.
You can look, not in real time, but you can look literally what the guy was thinking while he was in power for so many years. That's insane.
Yeah, and I should follow my own advice that I'm giving, because honestly, it happens to me too. Like, I try to read the newest book. Like, for example, one of my mentors now, William Brown, he got a book called How to 10 Million. It's a great book, How to 10 Million by William Brown. Shout out to you, William, if you see this. He's my mentor. I paid him to coach me now. And instead of reading that book, who just recently got out, How to 10 Million, well, in theory, I would be better off reading like a book from 200 years ago from like some guy as well. Like, I could learn like more things by looking at the history as well of people who came before, not just some
I
recent
mean, what they
stuff.
say, history repeats, and there's
Yeah,
doesn't matter where you are. There's always someone who already had the same problem as you.
yeah.
Literally.
I think it's good to have a foot on the tendencies, like the current tendencies, but also have a strong foot as well on the old evergreen knowledge from centuries ago. So you need to have your 2 feet on those two things, like a pulse on the current market and a strong, deeper dive on what happened before and making friends with the eminent dead, as Charlie Munger said. So you need to have both. Yeah, it's a good, it's a good insight. Yeah, because this is what's interesting about books is that you can read a book, and if you're not ready to grasp the knowledge of
Yeah.
that book, like you will get only maybe 1% of the information. But then once you read it a few years later, you
Like
will get
one, for
much
example,
more.
for me that I read every single year, it's Man in Search of Meaning.
Yeah, by the guy who Victor, the guy, yeah,
That man, that
Viktor Frankl.
for
Yeah.
me, it's especially for a reminder that it doesn't matter what happened in your life, where you are, you'll like always be grateful for it.
Yeah, man, you have to be grateful every day, even if you have a bad day. Be grateful for the gift of just existing, whether you're as long as you're feeling emotions, like be grateful because you're just living. You know, that's part of life. I agree with that. Yeah.
So, all right, then thank you very much, everyone, for watching this